Hey guys, welcome to the, what do we call it? The July, last minute of July LinkedIn webinar that I want to just basically share more around that critical client flow. And we're actually going to go through it in a way that we cover the critical client flow, but then what happens after that? Like, what do we do with it? What do we do as a systemologist to help business owners really capture, and in working with their systems champions, capture how to do a CCF and then work that into the systems assigned sheet. And then from the systems assigned sheet, how do we get the documentation? How do we look at it? How do we record it? How do we get it into something like System Hub or whatever platform that you guys are using to store your systems? So it's no slides. It's more of I'm going to just show you what we do on a typical basis as a systemologist. And if you have any questions throughout, feel free to ask, because this is what this is all about. I'm recording it. I will send you the recording. So if I'm going through it a little quick, let me know. If it's a little bit too confusing with anything that we're talking about, let me know. The handful of people that are mostly here today are other systemologists that we're working with. So guys, Jalen, Steve, Denise, obviously jump in and share with the way that you're doing things as well. Okay, because it's super helpful to see how the rest of the world is systemizing their businesses, but more importantly, how the systemologist collectively is working with business owners to help them as well. So what I want to share with you, I'm just going to do a screen share. I'm going to do this screen here. Bring my little camera so you guys can see that okay?
Yep.
Cool. So whenever I work with a client, and especially when we're first starting off and we're talking about what systemology is and how we can help them creating the business freedom, how does the business owner work to a point where he knows that he or she can go away on holidays for a month and come back and the business is running better without them. Like, that's ultimately the goal that we're trying to achieve with businesses that we work with. So straight away after our first meeting, I share with him that I'm going to send you today's recording, number one. Two, I'm going to share with you a Google Drive folder that is called a welcome pack. And then any supporting documents that may come up through the nurturing sequence or working with that client will be in that folder as well. So this is what the welcome pack looks like. So the first thing they'll get is a critical client flow template, right? So they've got that place to work with. So they start here, and we either have a session today together, which might be more of a deep dive into doing a critical client flow for their business. And again, this is just part of the education that I do with clients before they even work with us or sign up for anything. It's more around just understand that critical client flow, because I believe, and you guys may believe this as well, I think the critical client flow is the hardest part. I think once you do your critical client flow, the rest is connecting dots. It gets easier, it becomes like a snowball effect. It just, the baseline is that critical client flow, because how often in your business do you look at a process or a service or a product that you're selling and you've worked out that flow of how do we meet clients? How do they meet us? How do we then, meet and greet? Like, how do they find us in the first place? How do we then work out what they want? Is it a good fit? How do we do a proposal? How do we then do the job? Do we get a deposit first? Like, all of those things happen. And then how do we get finally paid? And then how do we ask for a referral or a repeat or a Google review or whatever that looks like? So it's from marketing into sales, into operations, and into finance. So the first thing we do is we talk about the lowest hanging fruit. We talk about what would be the easiest job that you've ever done that you could do blindfolded with your hands tied behind your back. What would that look like? Because most business owners are always saying, oh, we're unique, we're different, we're so busy, we have 1,000 processes, we don't even know where to start. That's always the beginning conversation. So we talk about the fact that it's the easiest job. It's blue skies, it's not raining. Everyone showed up for work today. No one called in sick, and all the materials arrived on time. It's the best client you've ever worked with, the most profitable job you've ever done. And it's like, this is what we do every single day. This is why I became a plumber or electrician or whatever in the first place. Right? That's the language that we use. So they go, oh, okay, so this is not going to be so overwhelming. So we start with this. And if you haven't seen this before, this is the critical client flow. And all we basically do is we think about your target client. Now, it can be a specific client that you're working with. It could be, John Smith, whatever it can be. If you're a builder, it could be a commercial client. It could be a residential client. It could be NDIS. It could be strata. Think of one target client type that you want to be working with. And you can use the actual client if that works best. If you've got one big client that you're working with, use their name. Think of them constantly through this critical client flow, that this is what you'll be doing for them. Okay, so you're now not thinking outside, oh, but we do this and we do that. And what happens if it does this or whatever? You're like, no, this particular client type, We're going to stick with just thinking about them. And then you think about the product and service that you're going to be working with. So what is the product or service that you provide to that target client? That's it. Keep it simple. So the first thing we do is we work out the attention. So here would be typically your marketing aspect for that particular client type, for that particular product or service. So most people would say word of mouth, referrals, social media, signage on the cars or billboards, radio, television, newspapers. It could be networking events. Let me know if I've left anything out that's pretty obvious. Your website, if you have a website form. This is where we want to capture how do people find you and how are you reaching out to find clients? Like, what is your marketing campaign? Again, if it's more than 4, add a box. Like, let's just stay high level. Keep it super simple. If it's social and it's Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, whatever it is, just put social for now. Because by the time we get it over to the systems assigned sheet, you can go social LinkedIn, social Facebook, social Instagram, whatever that looks like, you can start breaking it down. The CCF is like looking at your company from a helicopter. We want to keep it super high level. So what happens next? How did they find you? All right, they found you. They want to work with you. How do you connect with them? Typically, 99% of the things, the words that go in this box right here is phone call or email. That's your typical, that's the answer I've seen when I've worked with, 25 different industries over the last 4 years, and I've systemized over 75 businesses. And that box right there says email or phone call most of the time. This area here, we're starting to go now into sales. We're doing a review and we're checking out. We're going on site. We're finding if the client's a right fit. If you're a right fit for them, you're going through the process now of nurturing to make sure that it's going to work. Typically here, you're going to be providing a proposal, going on site to do an inspection. I just keep saying, well, what happens next? What happens next? And sometimes client or business owners will get too deep into the detail, and we've got to pull them back and just say, just think more high level, just generalize that area in which you're going to. All right, so here we go. Okay, we provided a quote. Cool. Remember, they've accepted the quote because everything's a yes, it's all blue skies, it's not raining, everything's perfect. That's like the perfect scenario, right? We get into here, we're now talking about money. So maybe we got a deposit for this job. Or maybe it's just basically reviewing the proposal, or they've said yes and you're starting the job and you're now going through and delivering that product. So again, I've had clients, they use up about 6 boxes and they go straight to here to ask for a Google review. I've had other over here, they got 20 boxes because they've just dug too deep. This is just a baseline of best practices of the amount of boxes to use. There's no right or wrong. It's your business. This is the way it works, right? Do whatever works for you. So when we come down into the doing the job and then getting final payment and then asking for a review and then just repeating this again, rinse and repeat, wax on, wax off. That is the flow in which we're doing it. So I am going to go through what's in the welcome pack, but Denise and I are going to work together and actually do a CCF together. And time permitting, if we have time to then, what it would look like if we move it over to a department roles and team charts, and what it would look like if we brought it over to a systems assigned sheet. So if you think about those who have read the Systemology book, when you've got your defined stage, you're just defining the client and you're defining the service. That's it. So we're just identifying that stage 1 of doing this. When we talk about assigning it, we're now going to look at assigning each one of these boxes to the right department. Okay. So if we come back over to our little welcome pack and we look at the next stage of what do we do with the information that's in that critical client flow? When we go into here, you can see, now this is the revised template of the DRTC and the systems assigned sheet. So any of those, if you do have the template, the original template for this, I'm going to share with you the resources of this folder. I'll put the link in the chat actually. So this is Dave Jennings created a brand new DRTC and systems assigned sheet template. So those boxes that are over here, we're simply going to be capturing and identifying which areas. And again, today we're only going to talk about the 4 main departments of marketing, sales, operations, finance. And we're going to be putting inside of in these boxes here, the boxes from the critical client flow. So we're now working with the client. We're saying, where do you feel these boxes will fall under marketing? And where do you feel those boxes fall under sales, then operations, and then finally finance? We're not jumping into anything else today. We're going to keep it super simple, okay? Down here, we're now defining which person within your business knows most about each one of these departments. Because if we were to say, look, we're going to bring someone in that's part of your business, and we're going to meet with them over Zoom, and we're going to record them giving us an overview of that process. We don't want super details. We don't want bullet points. We don't want links to your project management platform yet. Just give me a 1 to 2 minute, maximum 3 minute overview. And typically in this overview, when we're talking about a product or a service or a process, it's like if we were say, yes, that referral is marketing. Now give me an overview of how your referral process works in 30 seconds to maximum 3 minutes, just an overview. Okay, in the overview, we want to hear these things. This is the name of the process. This is why we have the process. The process is important because, and that's the end of the process. All right. Now, it's taken me a couple of years to get those 4 things right, because sometimes it gets too much detail, turns into a 15-minute conversation. We need to keep it low and simple and sweet and short, right? So this is the name of the process. This is how the process for referrals work. It's important that we have this process so we can gain more clients and increase our revenue. We have this process because if a client works with us and they go away and they meet someone else and they tell that person about us, and that person calls us and says, I've been referred to you by so-and-so, that's why we have this process. And that's the end of the process. That's it. Simple as that, right? Now, most of that can be explained within 30 seconds to a minute. That's all we want for now. Because if you imagine, if you go into your systems platform and you go to marketing and you go to that service or product, and then you see referral process, and you're onboarding someone new in your business to understand that process, you want to have an overview first. Because below that overview is going to be maybe some bullet points, maybe a link to your project management platform. It could be anything you want in details of who's doing what by when and how. The overview is most important because every single process should have an overview. Because I try to imagine a 15-year-old kid joining your business. They've never heard of your business before. You're going to hire them on that day and you're onboarding them. That's the language we want to be speaking, because we don't want to make any assumptions that they know what this process is. And we don't go, oh, everyone knows what this is. And why do we have a referral process? Everyone knows what referral is. Well, maybe some 15-year-old kid who's joining your business today and being hired and being onboarded has never heard of a referral process before. So we just keep it simple. Okay, so that's the DRTC, or the Department Responsibilities and Team Chart. When we move it across now, we still have this populated now. We have all this information here. It's nice and neat. It looks really good. I'm just going to jump into the chat. Okay, no worries, Steve. When we bring it over to the systems assign sheet, this is where we've captured everything from the critical client flow and everything from the DRTC. And again, it's just copy paste now. It's a no-brainer. We're not adding anything new right now. We're simply going, if there's 4 things in marketing, then let's copy that marketing word 4 times. And we simply go, right, here's our department. And we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. And all of the things in marketing are going to be referral, blah, 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 whatever we've said in the marketing one. Then when we go into the next one, when we think about sales, let's just say that there's a couple of things in sales that we've picked up. That's going to go there. And operations and finance. Okay, so we're just keeping it, again, basing it off the critical client flow into the DRTC, into your systems assign sheet. And now I'm going to work my way across to the right. So we have a marketing department. That's cool. The critical client flow name, again, let's use the word referral as our example. The system name, so it's just more clear example of the name. So inside your system hub or your system platform, you want to ensure that when they go, whoever's being onboarded or learning that process or going to that process to understand it, they want to go in there and go, right, here's the department, it's marketing. There's the process for this job or product or process, or the product or service you're providing. And then the actual system name would be referral. Typically, you would have referral process, word of mouth process. Just put the word process at the end for now, because down the track, as you start to build, you'll start to go, well, I want to kind of rephrase that a little bit more, because we might have referrals from network events, referrals from clients, referrals from family and friends. You might want to break it down later, but let's just call it the referral process for now. The description, blah, blah, blah. I love that. You just put, this is how the referral, this is a description of the referral process and how we use it within our business, something like that. The knowledgeable worker, that's the person that's going to be explaining that process and giving us the overview. The resource, now the resource can be, if a referral process, for example, is an email that you have in a signature to say, hey, the best compliment we can ever get is a referral, and someone's actually clicked that button and filled in a referral form, then the resource would be an email template. It could be a web form. It could be something that you're using that's a resource for that. The reason we want to capture the resource, because when Joe comes in to do this interview today, he's going to do his 30-second to 3-minute overview of this process. We want him to be ready to show us how that email template works, or show us how the web form works when that comes in. And if he needs to do a screen share and we're recording it and he goes, okay, so someone clicks here, they fill in this form and I get it, and then I use this email template to reply to that, then that's where we put the resources, because Joe's ready for the day to do that recording. Another example, if it's finance and they're using Xero and they're doing invoices in Xero, and the process is, how do we add an invoice in Xero? They do a recording and screen share. If they're using Loom, now Loom is an add-on to Chrome, or it's a program you can install on a Mac or a PC that simply records, it's screen recording. So with Loom, you open up Xero as an example, you hit the Loom button, it goes 3, 2, 1, now it's recording you, it's recording your mouse clicks, and it's recording your voice, and there's a video of you as well. You can turn your camera on and off, depends on what's, where you're comfortable. But you would say, have Xero up on the screen. Okay, this is now the process of adding an invoice in Xero. First thing we do is we log into Xero. Second thing we do is we go to a contact, then we go into new invoice, fill in the invoice, send the invoice, and that's the process of how we add an invoice in Xero. The resource for that would be Xero. Kind of get it now. If it's an email, it might be Outlook, could be your CRM, could be a project management platform. What resource do we need so that we're prepared for that day to do that extraction and record it? Capture method, Zoom, Loom, Google Meet, GoPro, iPad, iPhone, Android, you name it. However you're going to be recording that process. We have clients now that are going out on GoPros on their heads, strapped onto their head, and they're walking through a job site, talking through a process, how to put a spirit level up, how to do this, how to use the tools, whatever that looks like, they're recording it. So we want to be able to capture how they're capturing it. Again, so they're prepared that, oh, right, I need to do that, do Loom today. I've got to be on a computer that has Loom because I'm going to be doing that today and recording that offline. The extraction date, the date that we did the extraction. Because if you can imagine, once we get through these 10, and now you're at a process where you created a system for creating systems, and you've got 50 or 60 or 100 processes that you're working on. You want to know which date you recorded that to ensure that it's still the same process that you're documenting. That's still the most current version of that process. And also want to keep track of how we're going. Okay, so these are the dates. The pre-extraction form. Now I'm going to share with you what that looks like, because I think it's part of the welcome pack that would be important to show. So that pre-extraction form typically means that you have an employee, they're too busy to come in for a 30-second video to talk about how they do something, because they're nervous, there's too many processes, it's complicated, they may need to maybe they're just not comfortable doing it that way, and they prefer to do something offline that would be helpful to us as the systemologist to capture. That's okay too. So the pre-extraction form, they simply fill in what the system name is, which department, who the owner is, typically would be them, secondary owner, who would they be working with that knows that, a bit of an overview of that process, any references or documents that they want to add to that, and then any links, URLs, things like that, time estimated to run through or understand that process if we turned it into a learning track, and then the system outline. And they simply submit this form, and we would then capture that and add it into the form. So there's always ways to be capturing systems with or without that particular client being on there. So the System Hub URL, this is super important to actually put the URL in your System Hub. Now, if you're using ClickUp, to put the ClickUp link. If you're using Monday, Asana, wherever you're storing your systems, whether even Google Drive or Dropbox or Office, put the link into here, because we want to be able to use the systems assign sheet as your Bible. It's your legend. It's the place you go to when you're capturing your systems and keeping track of how you're doing. If you go into System Hub and you're going, oh, I need to go into marketing, and then I need to go to this job, and then I need to go to referrals, there's more of a chance that if it's not done, you might go into the wrong one. And now you're updating the wrong process in the wrong area. If you stick to the systems assign sheet, this is the direct link back to that process. And you find that more often than not, you'll be coming back to your systems assign sheet to ensure that you're going to the right one. Because down the track, the 80-20 rule will set in. And we know that 80% of the things you're doing on a day-to-day basis are probably the same for every single service and product you're providing. Marketing, sales, and finance are typically exactly the same for every service and product you're selling. It's operations that are slightly different. Again, from a builder's perspective, strata, commercial, residential, NDIS, now it's slightly different. But the process in the beginning is the same, and the process in the end is the same. You don't want to get confused on duplicating processes by doing it all over in your systems platform. Create a systems assigned sheet for every single job, product, and service that you're creating. And yes, you're going to see that a lot of these will be the same. Simply duplicate them. Okay, so you're not rewriting and reinventing the wheel. The documenter goes here. So whoever your documenter is, your systems champion will go here. Has it been reviewed? You can put a tick. Is it complete? Then yes, you put an X. One of the things that we love to work with in System Hub, there's a little dot at the top left-hand corner of every single process. So it's color-coded. So typically when it's gray, it means you created a title and you haven't got any context. There's no videos, there's no bullet points, there's no overview yet. But then you're working on it. So what I do with the client is I change this to orange to say, right, that's work in progress. Fantastic. Right? So the color thing in System Hub has an orange dot next to it as well. So it's a quick view to see how are we tracking within our processes. If it's gray, yep, we got a title, but nothing's there. Should probably get to work on that. If it's orange, it means there's content there, but it's not completed yet. So let's jump on the orange ones today and make sure they're done. So when we look at the completion, when the business owner, whoever is the system champion, has read that process, they can see the video. It's nice and clean. It's got the SOP lined up perfectly. It's got email templates. It's got examples. It's got pictures. It's got attached PDFs. It looks amazing. That is the process. Then that is when we mark it green, do a virtual high five with everyone, and we go, right, let's move on to the next one. So we simply just change that now to green. So the whole line would be either black, orange, or green. Sometimes I have clients that say, can we use red? Because that just means it needs to be done by this Friday. It's like, yep. So we use red. There's no right or wrong, but there's about 7 different colors you can use within System Hub to represent and reflect how you're tracking inside here. So again, a lot of referencing back to System Hub, but it's not necessarily the platform you need to be on, as long as you just have it organized to see how you're tracking. Now, some of the add-ons that Dave has created recently is now we're having more of now if we're looking in building systems, how do we keep track? In particular, we're talking about roles. Okay, so you have a sales manager. You would really love to track down what they're doing now. So we kind of moved away from that critical client flow and the DRTC. We're now talking about role specific. So what is this person doing every single day, every week, every month, every quarter, and even every year based on their particular role, and how do we capture what they do? Because let's say they're going to go away on holidays for 3 months, and what they do is super important, but we don't want them to be coming back and running around trying to chase their tail, trying to get caught up on the things that they missed while they're away. So the culture that we want to create is we need to capture what you do on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annual basis so that we can record it and document it. So if you are away, someone else can pick up the pieces or pick up that role, pick up that job that you're working through. So this is a bit of another template you can use to say, well, let's talk about marketing. What happens on a daily, weekly, quarterly? And then you can identify these, and this becomes your baseline. So when you're ready to talk about different roles or different departments, you can think about an overview of what happens in a year within your business by breaking it down into quarters, then months, then weeks, and even daily. The KPI dashboard. So now you're talking about marketing, sales, and delivery. You can now put in what are your targets in here. Because now that you're capturing all these beautiful processes and you've got these policies in place, and now you're putting some learning tracks in your onboarding and all of that, you can now start setting some goals in here. And again, it's a baseline. You could be using this within your CRM to be tracking your finances or financials on your deals. How are you tracking on your goals, things like that. This is, again, everything about this systems assigned sheet is high level. We're just looking at it from a global view. It's a starting point to start really keeping track of how you're doing. AI first is fairly new. So now we can look at each department and which areas you could be using. So within your company, and has everyone heard of ChatGPT, right? I would say yes to that. Has anyone heard of creating your own bot within ChatGPT? And has anyone done it? Okay. So let's just say you go into ChatGPT, and on the left-hand side, you can say, well, let's look at the marketplace for ChatGPT, right? So you're looking at a marketplace of other people that have created bots. They're learning bots, right? You can now create your own. So first thing you want to do within your business and go create my own new bot and give it your company name. That's the title of it. Then you tell it, it's actually in the configuration button. You say, reference my website, and you put your website in and add the data from my website into my bot. And it goes to the internet, finds your website, scours your internet or your website, and loads all the data from your website directly into your own bot. Now you're going back to anything that you've done in the past. So if you have Zoom recordings, Google Meet recordings, you have transcript from sales calls, get the transcripts and load them into your bot. Now you've got everything in there. Have you written a book? Get your book in PDF, load the PDF inside that. If you're using Systemology to capture your systems, get the Systemology book in PDF and load the Systemology book in your bot. Now it has the entire resource of the Systemology book inside your bot. It's referencing that data and using all of the rules, the subset of Systemology and everything in there inside your own bot to then capture the outputs. And when you're actually saying, write me a standard operating procedure on this process of how we have referrals for our marketing team, you just hit click. Now you haven't even interviewed anyone to talk about your referral process because it's used all the information from your own website first and it spits out this information that you would be amazed at what's coming. God only knows where AI is heading in the next 5 years. It's going to get to a point where the interviewing process to a particular person within your business is probably going to become redundant because you're going to have your own bot sitting there that's ready to go. So I'll even share with you what that bot looks like in a world of ours. I'll just go into mine. And you'll see on this left-hand side, just let that load. I better sign in. Let me just log in real quick because I think this is good to show you. So you'll see, if I just go show 9 more, I've actually got the Systemology bot there. So that's everything within Systemology that's ever been written. It's got sales, it's got the transcript from sales calls. It's got everything that Dave's basically added. This is the Systemology one that's basically owned and created by David Jennings. Then I've created, for every client that I work with, I've created their own bot. So if you look at something like trend lines, so everything about their company is loaded here, even the questions, the prompts they will be asked. So I've loaded, this is Shane from Trendlines. I've loaded his entire website into this bot. So anything I ask in this question will refer to his website. So, how can I set up a comprehensive insurance policy? So their entire documentation on what they do and how they do it is written here. So you can actually create an email from this. You can create a social media post from this. You can create a SOP from this. Anything that you want to create, once your bot is set up and running, you then have a complete array of information that's already been loaded before it jumps into the internet and starts grabbing all the other ChatGPT information. It's going to reference the information you have in here first. So that's basically how you can utilize ChatGPT. And you can create a bot and you can share that bot with your team who's using free ChatGPT for their own. So if you have a marketing person, they don't have to buy another license for ChatGPT. One licensed user can create as many bots as you want, and you simply share that link to one of your fellow teammates or a friend or whoever you're marketing, some contractors you're working with, and they could utilize the information you've created within your own bot to help them help you build your business and scale your business and anything you want for that. So when we come back into this folder, I'm just going to drag this down a little bit so I can see. You can see here we have the next one down is the organization chart template. So again, this is what I give any client that I'm working with. So while we're going through, this is just a simple template of your org chart, because one of the first questions we'll ask, do you have an org chart? Do you know what everyone's doing? So this is just a simple template that I share. It says, okay, you can remove the ones you want, but make it role specific. You can put the person's name here, but it is the marketing, it's a social, it's BDM. And then if someone comes and goes and they leave and someone new comes in, you just simply replace the name. So it's role specific in this org chart. So you can, again, add this to your system platform and reference that as part of your onboarding to say, day 1 onboarding, welcome to the team. Here's our org chart. You're sitting in this section right here because you are the consultant or client relationship or BDM. The next stage will be, here's your policies. Here's your workplace policies, your employment policies, all of the policies that are there. They get to review that on day 1 of onboarding. Okay, your role is going to be BDM. So we've handpicked the best processes for BDM as part of your onboarding and learning. So now you're utilizing all the beautiful processes that have been documented and you're bringing those across for your onboarding for training. But it has to start with, welcome to the team. Here's about us. Here's our org chart. Here's your policies. Here's your role specific tasks. And now you're ready to join the team. And in System Hub, as an example, You create an onboarding learning track, and they have to click agree to every one of the policies and processes you're teaching them so that they agree to that. So by the time they're onboarded, they've agreed to all the terms and policies and the roles and everything, things like that. When we talk about best practices, again, I've created this document, and Denise has all further explain this in a bit more detail for you, because we were chatting about this before. So for example, if I click marketing and go to this link, this is just the top 20 best practices to put in your marketing department. So as you're building your processes through your CCFs and through your roles and doing all of that, what other things are the rest of the world doing that would be the best practices for marketing that we haven't thought about? So when you look at this process, all of these little processes here, you can go, we don't actually have an email marketing process. Let's capture that. Now go back to your ChatGPT bot and say, write me an email marketing process for this particular client type or whatever that looks like. And it will spit out some information based off who you are, because your history of your data, your transcripts are all getting loaded in there. Again, treat it like the 80-20 rule. 80% of the information that's there is fairly accurate. The 20% is where you need to fine tune and tweak it to make it your own. But you don't need to start all over and rewrite it, or unless you have a marketing person that does your email marketing that can come in to do their 30-second to 3-minute overview, and then add that, contribute that transcript into your ChatGPT, which will give you the best output. The import button is there because if I'm using System Hub, and again, I'm just going to open up my System Hub and show you. I'm just going to bring this down so I can see it. So when we go into here, I'm going to log into mine. So now you can see my System Hub is open. The import button means that if you have System Hub and you see a shared, I'm just going to click it again. This is simply the process that I've created, but I've shared it as a landing page. So inside System Hub, you have a share option. When you click the share button, it then opens this up and gives you a landing page. So the importance of that is if you do, say, for example, a marketing procedure, and you want to share that with a external marketing team, you simply have the process there. You share it as a landing page. So it's read only. They can't do anything with it. They only see your logo. They can then go, well, here's the process of our marketing campaign external contractor. Read through this. Now you can prepare your proposal for us, because now we've told you exactly what we expect from our marketing, because this is an outline that we've done. They then have your outline there. They can't change it. They're not logging into your System Hub, for example. But if let's say you do something like this where you do share it as a landing page and to someone else, another business that's using System Hub, you now can simply import this in to their System Hub. So the reason I'm showing you this is in part of the resources of that Business Systems Accelerator, that's part of the System Hub platform, you have access to over, I think, 150 now processes that have already been done through David interviewing experts around the world. He's created these questions in his own podcast and YouTube channel interviews like a CCF. He's actually constructed the interviews. So they're actually giving a full outline of something of process or some service or they're providing that's been really well documented. You're like, I really want to add that to our own System Hub, because that's amazing. Inside the BSA, there's hundreds of these that just have the import button ready to go. It's a little link to say, hey, you like this process, it's fully documented, and the video, import this into your own System Hub. So this is actually my System Hub. Now that I'm logged into mine, it's showing me all of my departments. So I can just simply click one and go add that particular one straight to my marketing, because this is the best marketing practices. So yeah, put it in marketing, and then you can simply import that in there. So once that's done, you now have my System Hub with that. You can see the copy, best marketing practices, is now sitting inside my System Hub. Now I'm ready to go. I could use that. Okay, so that's where I've shared this again as part of that welcome pack. It's just best practices. So it gives you an idea, and you can do top 50, top 100. You can customize this whatever you want. I just pick the top 20. So I share that as well. The audiobook. So this is the PDF that comes with the audio. So when you listen to the audio, that's part of the gift that I'm giving to the client or a potential client as part of the welcome pack, and also the Systemology book in PDF as well. So on every meeting that I have, I share this folder with everyone, and whether they use it or not, that's great. But it's about giving a gift, educating, and then seeing if that client is interested in working with you. Then you know that they are a client that needs systems that need to be systemized. If you just meet with someone and say, right, we can systemize your business, and you're like, that's great, thanks. then that's one thing. But if you're saying, here's some great resources you can use to help you get started, that's where you go, right, we have a systems champion. We can start doing this today. We can start working. And whether or not we as systemologists are working with the client is irrelevant. It's more around the systemology book was created for a reason. It's written very simply to understand. There's 7 steps. You've read the book, you've fallen in love with the process. Where do you get started? So we kind of create a kind of a stepping stone into the world of leaning into being systemized business, creating the culture of systemizing, and then they have something to work with. All right. So that's the purpose of the welcome pack. But I want to go back into this critical client flow. I'll bring it back over to here. And what I want to do, Denise, if you can just unmute, we're going to give you an example of a critical client flow. So we'll kind of zing through. I'm just being mindful of time as well. But this is an example that we've done many times. But this time, this is Denise's critical client flow. I'm just going to fill in the boxes, and then we can see how that flow works. So Denise, I'm going to ask what it would be the target client that we're going to be talking about today.
Medium specialist medical practices.
Like that?
Correct.
Cool. And the actual service?
Systemology concierge.
Okay. Cool. So the concierge is a done-for-you product that a systemologist would provide. Okay, so that means we're meeting with the client. It's a 3-month engagement, 60 to 90 minutes per week. And then we go through the process and work with them in 12 sessions or 3 months together to actually do the form. So they show up each week, and then we go through the process of systemizing. So in your world of being a systemologist out in the world as a systemologist contractor, what would be your attention? How are you finding people? How are they finding you?
Joint venture.
Okay, so we'll just put JV.
Yep. Website.
Yep.
And social.
Cool. So again, we're just staying top level. So we're not going to go into social, which ones. We're just talking about it is social we're using. So that's it for that?
Yep.
Cool. You don't have to fill in every box. It's just where your business is because there's no right or wrong. It's just the way that you're doing it. So again, how are you meeting and greeting? What's the first stage?
So it's email, phone, or web. Email, phone, or Zoom.
Yep. Hey, thanks for adding the Zoom. This is good. Yep. Okay, so you've had your meeting. Remember, it's all blue skies. Everything's a yes. It's a beautiful day. Perfect client. What happens next?
Discovery call. So, I mean, in systemology, we call it a coffee call.
Yep. Okay, so we can call it discovery. Yep. What happens next?
A deeper dive.
Yep. So just remember, this has been done before. So the first time Denise did this, it probably took her a couple of hours to go through it. We're speeding it along just so you can see the flow of what's happening here because you can relate it to your own business. Okay, you've had the deep dive. It's perfect. What happened next?
Send the quote.
Okay. Okay, what happens next?
Payment.
So upfront payment?
Yeah. Payment schedule. Yeah.
Okay,
But just put payment. Yeah.
that's cool. What happens next?
Schedule the extraction sessions.
Yep. Okay, what happens next?
Complete the concierge project.
And what happens next?
Upsell and ongoing.
Cool. Perfect. Now we did that in what, 3 minutes, but that's intentional because we want you to see how it works. We've thought about the target client. We've confirmed the concierge as being the service, and then we've just gone through the invention of the product or service. We've gone through what is it like to meet and greet, send the quote, get the yes, start the job, complete it, and then upsell, ongoing, ask for referral, all of that kind of fun stuff. So you can relate this within your own business, and you can relate it to any product and service that you're selling. So all we do now is we capture, and I've gone through this before as an example, but each one of those boxes then gets brought across to here. So we itemize everything. And sometimes the question that gets asked a lot is where does sales and sometimes finance get merged? So I always let the client tell me where this would go. I don't make any assumptions, even here. And they'll just say, well, that's the sales process, but it's at that point we've already done it, so it's actually more operations because we have SimPro or Airflow that we use, and the quote actually goes into SimPro because they've already said yes, it's approved, and we actually started the job inside that. So everybody's uniquely different in how they want to identify which department they go into, and then that just gets moved across to here, and then straight across, and just follow the guide, follow this process right across, and you keep working your way down until every one of those is done. So does anyone have any questions so far? Because I just like, it's like drinking water through a fire hose, but I want to make sure that if there's any questions or if you've tried this, is everyone tried a CCF? I'm going to assume that our systemologist, it would be a big yes, but Ellie, have you gone through a critical client flow yet?
I haven't. No, this is new to me.
You've read the book though?
I haven't read the book either, but I'm planning on reading the book very soon.
Okay. Let me know if you want me to send you a copy of the book.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Great. So I'll grab your details, but I'll get your mailing address and I'm going to post your book.
Sure.
Because once you've got
awesome.
that, then you'll get it. Because when you're saying things like CCF and DRTC and systems assigned and all that, you're going to go, I get it now.
Yeah.
I've just read that 1,000 times in the book. So you get
awesome. I have had it shown to me, but I haven't read the book as yet.
Okay. And Greta, you've read the book?
No, I haven't. No.
Okay. But have you got a copy of the book? Because if you want, I can send you a copy as well.
Yeah, that would be great. I don't have a copy. Yeah, that would be amazing. Beautiful. Thank you.
That's 2 books going out today. I love it.
Okay. Amazing.
Ellie and Greta, do you guys have any questions around what we've covered today? I know it's a lot of information, but
no, I don't at the moment. It all looks, I can't wait to sink my teeth into it.
Yeah.
I think, we're definitely in a position to review our current processes and systems for sure. And Greta's new to the business, so it'd be good to get some fresh eyes across what we're doing and see, how we can implement these things would be fantastic.
Excellent. And just for our fellow systemologists, Denise, Jalen, or Steve, do you guys have any comments or questions at all? Because I know you've seen this 1,000 times. You've probably seen me cover this 1,000 times. So I'd love to get your input as well if you have any additional comments that would be supportive for Ellie and Greta.
So mine would be, don't overthink it. Make it simple. Think simple. When you first do it the first time, you put a lot of content in the pages and off to the side, but you'll refine it as you go along.
Yeah.
Your first one will be clumsier and the second one will get better and the third one will get better.
Yeah, it's kind of like that snowball effect where it just gets better. I use the analogy of a puzzle. So if you got a big box of puzzle pieces, you just dumped the whole thing on a dining room table. What's the hardest part of a puzzle? The first 2 pieces. That's it. And so once you get the first 2 together, you're like, oh, then you get the third one and the fourth one, you're like, oh, it's an elephant. And then you get the fourth and fifth one, it's like 2 elephants. And then you go more, it's like it's 2 elephants in a waterfall. It starts getting fun and it starts getting easier. And then you build on that. And you'll find, again, that the 20% of the things you're doing every single day repetitively most likely represent 80% of your revenue.
Yeah.
Because you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You just simply duplicate it. Okay. So what about you, Jalen?
Yeah. Well, first of all, start out. Don't worry about perfect to start. And you also want to consider that you're doing it for an intelligent human being. And you don't want you only want to put in the content that's really necessary. Assuming that you're going that skilled people are doing the work.
Yeah.
That's good. What about you, Steve? I think you're still muted, mate. He's got the best tech on the planet.
Tech gets in the way.
I still can't hear you, mate. That's all right. While you're working on your mic, I'm just going to share with you now one little tidbit of inside System Hub. I want to go back to where did I log in over here somewhere. Here we go. That. So you can see here inside System Hub, and this isn't going to be a demo. It's more just a quick little overview of what System Hub looks like anyway. So when you look at the 3 areas of System Hub, you've got systems, policies, and training. That's it. It's not you don't need a university degree to work out how this works. It's basically a glorified Google Drive or Dropbox or Windows Explorer. Like it's just there designed, but it's mainly focused around your systems and departments. So you can see I've intentionally numbered each department in the flow in which the critical client flow is made. So, right, we're thinking marketing. If I expand that, all I've done here is I've identified every service that we do and every product that we sell. When you look at the systemology services, those three, you're probably going to find A, B, C, D, E of the social media referral process joint venture is the same. All I did with this, let's just look at the social media LinkedIn, right click, duplicate it. Where do you want to duplicate it? Dump it. Done. So the idea here is you don't want to overcomplicate your systems platform, but at the same time, you don't want to miss anything out either because your different services might be slightly different. So when I go look at the Systemology Concierge, then I look at Systemology Membership and Consulting. Now those three things are exactly the same. I don't need to rewrite those, but that's pretty straightforward. But when you look at operation or sales, you can see I've identified the same 14, 15 services and products. We've identified what does the Systemology Concierge look like from a point of view of sales. And again, I don't need to rewrite it. I just simply go, it's going to be the same for the Systemology here and the same for that. You can see I've done the same with operations. I've listed the same 15, 16 services. Operations might be a little bit more detailed, but again, it's covering the same processes. And the idea for these is you go, right, I'm just thinking of operations. I'm just thinking of that service. Now I want to know what those processes are for that service. So you go department, product or service, process. Those are the three things you want to step down to find things and just keep it simple. Don't overthink it. Like Denise said, it can be overly complicated with a lot of data, but if you just think department, service, process, then you know where to find it. So if you're guiding someone to your system platform to find a process of how to do it, that is the way you want to follow that flow. The idea for that is, again, if we go back into that shared one, like this shared one here, you can see if I wanted to share going into, say, social media, LinkedIn, every SOP is going to look like this, or at least this is the guideline that you find works best for you. You start to use it. All right. So you go back into overview, introduction, procedure, conclusion. That's the standard operating procedure. Okay. So when you're working your way through it, and then you have more details around here, you can see I've got two processes. One's a bit more detailed because I've got two videos. So one goes for 2 minutes and one goes for 6 minutes. But I'm using Loom. I simply screen recorded what I'm doing, and I added it into System Hub. I've added the email templates that are associated with anything that comes in via LinkedIn. So this is how we respond when someone does that. It's not where you go to find the template, because your template should already be loaded in your CRM or your Outlook or your Google, Gmail. It's a reference to that email template. So whoever you're onboarding, you say, okay, these are the email. Okay, I want to make sure these email templates end up in my CRM, things like that. If I wanted to share this particular process externally, that's where you click the share button. And that's where you simply go, right, that's the link. I'm going to open that link. I'm going to share that URL with our external marketing team, or I'm just going to say, just simply scan that QR code, and that will take you to that process. So we're working with one client. They have, I'm not kidding, over 100 QR codes, and they printed them out, laminated them, and put them on the trucks, the equipment, the tools. So before you touch this machine, you need to get your phone, scan the QR code, read through it, watch the video. Okay, once you're done with that, now you're ready to operate that machinery. Because this is Brimble Rail. They fix trains. You put your hand into something that you're fixing a train, you're going to lose your hand. So soup safety is their number one. This is one more thing. So they've created a QR code for everything. So coming back into System Hub, what do we do with all of these systems that have been created? And you see the green dots, you can see all these. And wherever there's orange, it means it's still working through it and we want to get it going, get it finished. It represents that little dot there. Now you've got these great systems, and even in policies, you've got some great policies in place. You're talking about, introduction, company overview. Grab the stuff off your website, put it in there. Like if you're onboarding someone new, welcome to the team. Here's a little bit about us. Now we can go through the organization structure, who's who, right? There's the org chart. Here's who's doing what. Here's your role. You fit into this area here. Here's a little bit about the team, right? Great, get to know everyone. So now you're building the relationship for onboarding. So you're summarizing everything from day one, right down to employment policies. Now they're going through and reading all of these, and they're clicking the agree button that they agree to all these policies that you're creating. The reason for all of the policies and systems is now here. you have training. And again, we'll use that same example that Denise used and that we have as well. We've created a CCF for concierge service. We've created the entire systems assign sheet. We've completed it. We marked it off as green. We're really happy with it. Now we put it into an onboarding. So now we can teach other systemologists how we, Cloud Connect, actually does a systemology concierge service as a systemologist. So go through the marketing, click the marketing one. It goes through all of those marketing ones you saw before. You can see I've completed the course. I simply went to that link. I've then read through it. I've watched the videos. I love it. It's great. I agree. Click the agree button. A little notification comes up and says I agree. It now goes back into the learning track and it marks that as complete. So we go through to the next one. You go through sales. Here's the process for sales. Again, I've completed the course. If I ever want to see how the team is going, you click the training log and you can see how the team has completed the learning tracks that you've given them. And the same with operations, completed that, and finance, completed that. Okay, so you can always see how they're tracking, but that I wanted to share that with you because you can see why, right? The purpose of creating and recording and documenting your processes so that one, you don't have to say it again. They can watch it once, record it once, and they can watch it 1,000 times. Two, all of your policies. If you have company policies, workplace policies, let's get them into your platform so that if it comes time to update your policies, and it's only going to be a small part of it. Let's say we go into organization or company policies, and you just want to update your privacy and confidentiality one. You go into that, you update it, and when you're safe, I go into the edit button so I can edit this now. I'm going to update this particular policy. The first thing I want to do is create a version. You can see on the bottom right there, versions. I'm going to create a new version. Great. Now it's timestamped to today. I've edited it. I've updated it. It looks great. All happy days. I can now go back into that policy now and see whenever this was updated. So when was the last time we updated this one? Okay, great. I can see that the agreement log or the actual timestamp here, if I go to edit and I go to versions, you can see the 31st of July, 2024. We did a revision. It's been 6 months, a year, 2 years, whatever, since the last time someone's edited this. So this is how you track your versions of the processes and policies in the systems that you've created. You know when they've been updated. So they always say the rule of thumb is once you complete a process and you have it green, when you're going back into it to modify it, edit, change it, do whatever, do a version check. Because in 2 years' time, 3 years' time, you know which policies and how up to date they really are. And even if it gets to a point where you're going into, right, those policies, because we're a GP, we have accreditation every 2 years or whatever that looks like, we need to submit the policies of what we have for our business. You simply print the manuals. And now you can print whichever ones you want. So if I'm going to policies and I want to print out the entire company policies, you just tick this button and it creates a manual. So it creates a PDF of all of that. So that's, I mean, no one really prints anymore unless they need to, but in some industries, they still need a printed copy that needs to be signed off. That's where you can actually print off your manuals as well, if you need to. So that's System Hub overview. And this is the welcome pack that we give to every client that we work with. And I've gone through each one of these. And I really wanted the critical client flow is the starting point. And that's why I wanted to go through that exercise with Denise today, just so you can see, do as many critical client flows as you need to get used to it. You know, get it right, get it wrong, make it long, make it short. And eventually you'll fine tune it that every service and product you provide has its own critical client flow, because it does get easier. So start with that and everything else will kind of fall into place as you work your way through. It's like connecting the dots. So I'm going to stop sharing now. Does anyone have any questions at all so far? Pretty self-explanatory because I didn't want to go over too much, but I wanted to cover enough where you kind of go, okay, I get it. Now I understand that flow of where do we start? Because I think that is the hardest part. So if anyone doesn't have any questions at all, I'm being super mindful of time. It's landed almost straight on the hour, which is great. But that's it for me. So if you have any questions at all, I will just, Greta and Ellie, make sure that I get your postal addresses because I'm going to push you those books today. And then also you'll be getting the recording.
Cool.
Amazing.
Fantastic.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. It was awesome.
Yeah, that's really good.
All right, Steve, did you get your mic working yet?
No.
No?
No.
Well, it's great to see you, Steve. Sorry we can't hear you, but guys, thank you so much for coming and taking the time today. I appreciate it, and I'll see you guys soon.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Rod.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Yeah.
Right.